And here we go. So welcome everybody. Ralph Havens here, physical therapist. And I'm with Dr. Tom Giamateo, longtime friend and colleague. I met Tom first in February of 2000 and took my first class in integrative manual therapy. And it totally changed my life. And I was talking to a client recently, just the last one I had of today. And I thought, the deal about IMT, why we use this technique that looks like you're not doing anything, and like, it's like very, very subtle until you see what changes. And what got me was I was trained as a physical therapist where we come in with a certain set of things that we test, back pain, range of motion, like Tom says, stand them, bend them, walk them, and see where they're at. And then we do what we do, a technique, an exercise, a thing, and then we retest. And by doing that over all these years, 40 years for me now, I've been able to see what works. Certain people come in with certain problems. We do certain things because we think it'll help, and then we get a result, and it's either helps or doesn't help, or it makes things worse. And then we can see how it is over the course of the week before they come in the next time. And over the years of doing that, we get data. And as I did this and found IMT, at first I was like, well, I don't know exactly what we're doing, but it's getting a bigger result. And so I want to talk about the idea of this test and retest as a way to see what actually works, because some of it can seem kind of counterintuitive or you just don't understand it. And then also talk to Tom about, I'm going to open it up to like the idea that we're not robots, that, heart sadness is real, and things that hurt people on emotional levels and relationship stuff can affect people and can affect the kids, and people can have all sorts of pains and problems and be going to practitioners to try to solve them, but sometimes the root cause isn't even physical. So Tom, you have something that you taught me called myofascial mapping. That's at the root of IMT, is like the thing that can help us find what is the problem, and then give us a way to like Sharon used to say, just fix it up. So can you talk a little bit about any of these ideas around healing? And you've studied so many your medical systems of chiropractic and naturopathic and acupuncture, physical therapists. Talk to us about this IMT, this integrated manual therapy.
Well, IMT is in an evolutionary state today, Ralph. We are at the cusp of introducing a new name for it, which is structural medicine, and the word holocentesis. Sharon and I were introduced to the word holocentesis by a patient. Said, this is how you would say it in Latin. So the parts, the whole is greater than the parts. And we've taken a structural approach to that, which means we're looking at the anatomy to influence how we operate. Okay. And Dr. Hunter is off camera here hanging out with me today, and many years, over 80 years old, and many years in the medical field. And his eyes and his jaws keep twitching every time I give him a new idea of how to approach medicine. So structural medicine is the structure leads to the function. So if we had a factory and we wanted to put out 500 widgets in a day, may need 100 square feet to do that. And then the building shrinks to 25 feet in a day. How do we get 500 things up? Well, that's what happens to the liver half the time, and the liver can't operate in a smaller space. And so we get toxic, we could get a fatty liver, we can have high cholesterol, we can have fat deposits and all these things causing all those issues. But no, and they want to put chemicals down there. So we're in a 25-foot room getting really fast chemicals, but we're still not getting the space, where structural medicine actually opens the space and allows the tissues to function at its maximal capacity.
Yeah, and so like a common thing is a perimenopausal kind of idea that the hormones start to go a little funny, and people try to put in the bioidentical hormones, and it can give some relief, but it's more like putting the chemicals in. But you're saying the actual house of the liver, the structure of it can be compromised, can be smaller, restricted,
Right.
and that can be causing some of these symptoms.
And nobody thinks that a broken liver, like you said, squished down, can actually affect your shoulder, can actually lead to carpal tunnel, can actually lead to your headaches.
Yeah, I
Always
talk of it
is.
like this, like if something's tight here, it'll restrict my shoulder, and you can try to work on the shoulder, but if the problem is here, that's what you're talking about with the structural thing.
Yeah. So all those look like magic when you don't understand what's happening. And
Yeah.
all those you don't need a baseball bat or a sledgehammer to change them. You really need to be delicate to touch them and get them to work in their best position. Because, a hammer will deform it, and you really need to be able to peel it back, almost like if you had lace paper on something and you wanted to keep it clean and peel it as one piece. How do you really do that so that things can slide instead of going in there with a knife or a laser or a bulldozer and changing it in those ways?
Yeah. And can you talk a little bit about this idea, like the hammer versus the more delicate way you do it? There's this direct way of doing it, like just try to force it and then to force it to stretch open or something. And then there's this indirect way that you're talking about. There's that reflex arc idea. Anything you can tell people about why would these very look very simple, look like you're doing nothing, things that you're doing to position the body certain ways. Why is how can that work if it's so light touch, like so subtle, and the idea of like the direct versus indirect?
Yeah. So, a lot of the things that physical therapists do, chiropractors do, osteopaths do, and the medical doctors, um, if a gallbladder is broken, they just cut it out instead of possibly saying, "Oh, let's use beet juice and let's heal it from the inside out." They'll just say, "It's broken enough. Let's just," or wait until it gets broken enough to do that. So this idea of indirect to direct technique, we've all been, we're all been trying to be champion athletes, and we lie down on the ground and somebody wants to stretch our hamstring out. So your friend comes and puts your foot on their shoulder and they just walk it towards your face, and you just feel this incredible rip in your legs. And the next day you feel like somebody, something ripped and torn. They actually did that, right? And now you have to repair. And that type of flexibility and stretching really doesn't get you as flexible as you are. You actually get stiffer and stiffer as you cause these micro tears in there. So the other way is to figure out where it's stuck and back off in the other direction and unhook it. Almost like if you had your kitchen drawer with a fork stuck up and you try to pull out the drawer and the fork keeps it jammed in, that's what that direct pulling is like. But if you push the drawer back in and you shake it, the fork drops, and then you can glide it out and get full motion of the drawer. It wasn't, or you could bully it and break the fork and possibly break your wood. So that's what that direct stretching feels like, or those direct techniques like giving a Botox injection for muscle spasm, or giving a Botox injection for headaches, or
Yeah,
those pieces.
I
So
want to
yeah,
I want to do something for people and let them experience this. If you like, can I show them the strain counter strain for the liver?
sure.
Okay, so this is a technique, and I'll let Tom explain how they found it. It's really quite an amazing story. But you can test. Let's test before, if you like. Test your shoulders. Test how you move. Um, how every part of you moves. You can even stand and walk around a little bit, but especially test the arms. And then the technique for the liver, one of them, one of many IMT techniques for the liver, you slouch, kind of like a teenager might slouch, and you turn to the right 30 degrees, and then you tilt your left shoulder down about 35 degrees. And I'll stay here while Tom describes it. But if you do this, slouch, turn to the right 30 degrees, drop your left shoulder so you're kind of bent to the left 35 degrees, and just stay there for a minute. We maybe stay there a little longer, and then we'll retest your arms. Tom, when I first found you guys, I was doing all this visceral manipulation from the osteopaths, and it was very intricate. You had to be very skilled, and then to work on the liver and to improve the house of the liver. But then you guys showed me this one, and it seemed to do everything that these really intricate techniques did with a really simple position. Can you talk about this idea of the liver
Sure.
and how you found this, or anything about this sort of thing, while people kind of hopefully are slouched, turn right, tilted left?
The technique had a name in the 50s called strain and counter strain by a Dr. Jones, Lawrence Jones, who found when he actually shortened the muscles out of muscle spasm, they would reset and become longer. So when a muscle goes into spasm, it really tightens up. And the traditional way was to stretch, 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 and hopefully it would stop the problem. And Jones found that if you went in the opposite direction, brought it to its shortened length, like your bicep, if you bring your hand up to your face, the bicep is shortened, and you held it for a little time, all the sensors in the muscles would reset themselves and the muscle spasm would go away. So at this rotation you're turning and the side bend you're creating is actually giving the liver it's like rolling it up into a ball and allowing it to settle out and adjust itself, like almost shimming itself back into place. And then when you open up again, it's going to be refreshed. It's not going to be tired anymore, and it can do its job much better.
So
So I
let's
think that's
test.
over
Yeah, let me
over a
roll.
minute.
So now you can
Yeah,
undo for those of you that did it, and then just see if your right arm might be a little looser, and maybe you move a little different. Just kind of test for yourself, and you might think, well, I don't know what could that possibly have done, but the key is like, did it do something? And maybe it looks like magic or nothing, but what did it do? So hopefully people try that. We have a lot of those techniques. Um,
so that's one of the tools we use, and we've done that experiment on probably most of the body. I'm sure there's other techniques to go, but the ones that we have, there's over maybe 600 to 1,000 of those different positions to open up every single joint and tissue in the body type of thing. But I'm sure somebody will find a newer one that opens up deeper. And so I love it when the students come back after studying with us and say, I have something to contribute.
yeah.
This is a method of there's too many sick people in the world. Let's figure it out together instead of keeping it all to ourselves.
Yeah, IMT is very much, I mean, there's massage therapists, chiropractors, doctors of all sorts, physical therapists, all in there learning and contributing. When you fix up a liver, and you have a whole class on the liver with much more than this, but you start to improve the house of the liver. Um, the hormones can get better and life can get better.
Absolutely.
A lot of action is driven by hormones. Just think of teenagers getting their hormones. A lot of stuff goes on, and it can be things that seem that are emotional and mental and all sorts of existential things. And then you got the perimenopausal changes when there's like hormones change. And talk to us a little bit about some of these things that seem so like like mental or emotional issues, and how these kind of structural approaches can help um, that sort of thing.
Yep. So we all think that the mind-body connection is such a new thing, but it's been written for thousands of years that even the word disease means of not of ease, right? And we could be not of ease because our muscles don't work. We could be not of ease because we have an emotional stress or a mental stress that keeps us from there. So in Chinese medicine, all the meridians that work in acupuncture all have an emotional component and an organ component. Like the kidneys feel fear, the heart feels joy and sorrow, the lungs feel guilt and grief, the liver feels rage and anger. So sometimes it's the structure that makes it angry. So like it's almost like if you sat on a bag of golf balls, you'd be pretty grumpy at the end of the day.
Yeah,
So sometimes, or we get grumpy and it makes it feel like our butt has golf balls in it at the same time. So emotions and feelings can add and subtract to that whole process. You could die of a broken heart from sadness, actually. You know,
yeah. And
so we
one of my
we
clients,
we're
oh, go ahead.
able, we're able to touch that and look at those and say, maybe you're frustrated. If you let go of the frustration, maybe you can breathe better, right? And then it brings circulation back to the process. So we do touch on many different facets of the body to open it up and allow the person to change.
Yeah, I have one client I remember that was had been in much pain before he found IMT, and he said, and he's really happy and does really well. And he says, we keep him in the I keep him in the game with this, and doing all sorts of things he used to never do. But he said part of his thing is like he's just so happy. One with he's just he has some good mindset ideas, but um but he says it's hard to not be happy when your body feels so good. So there's just that like golf sitting on golf balls. If your body is not at ease, things your limit before you rage out is lower. You kind of hit that
Yeah.
mark sooner. This is good. I hope this is reaching people to get the idea that there's hope if somebody's had something for a while. Anything else you want to say? I know we need to wrap it up at some point pretty soon, but um,
Well, during the summertime, we're having our first heat wave in Connecticut. So stay hydrated. Um, Try to drink mineral water or spring water, but not the tap water because tap water has lots of toxins in it.
tell
Stay
me.
hydrated. Um, we have some good electrolyte drinks, uh, and some of the ones that you buy on the store shelf are just salt and water and sugar. Those aren't the best for the system. So just be careful out there as we move into the summertime. And next time, Ralph will tell them our secret about sun tanning and how we
Oh,
use
yeah.
the, the secrets about calcium and sunburns.
Yeah, and so that's a whole other section into the liver and everything around that. So if you're interested Tom is on the East Coast, West Hartford, Connecticut, IMT, that's Integrative Manual Therapy, imtwellnesscenter.com, and his phone number is 860-561-2286. He can talk to you, free consult, and help you get on the path to your healing. And then I'm on the West Coast, ralphhavens.com, up here in Bellingham, Washington at 360-599-2217, and I'll put links everywhere. So Tom, thank you so much. IMT has been something that's helped me. I used to had anxiety, had problems with cavities, had all sorts of physical things, and step by step, and not that slow, things got better. So I'm I hope this reaches the people that are dealing with things that they've tried lots of stuff and they haven't found their answer, because this could be a good place to look. Um,
Thanks, Ralph.
Thank you so much, and thanks for the time. And I'll see you guys very soon.
Bye.
Enjoy the time.